Houston's first news in high definition. This is KCBD News Channel 11 at 5.
Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us today at 5. I'm Christy Harton. Many are questioning the procedures Lubbock police officers are supposed to take during emergency traffic. These questions are popping up following the release of dash cam video of LPD officers responding and arresting Jose Arcesega. He's now held at the Lubbock County Detention Center on a charge of aggravated assault against a public servant. KCBD News Channel 11's Gloria De Leon is live from the scene of that assault on 19th and Iola. She joins us now with more. Gloria?
Chrissy, here at this intersection is where LPD says Arcesega intentionally rammed a police unit into this utility pole, injuring an officer. But now, following the release of that dash cam footage, many are questioning the actions of the officer driving over 100 miles per hour, in some instances without lights or sirens. Today, we spoke with Lieutenant Ray Mendoza. He tells us what officers are trained to do.
In any case where there's an officer needs help or any life's in danger, the response of the officers is key. And so a lot of times, we're authorized to run code 3, which means lights and sirens and exceed the speed limit.
Mendoza says regardless if it's day or night, officers are trained to run up both their lights and siren. Now, Mendoza says he cannot comment on this specific case as it is still under investigation, but will continue to track any developments and bring those to you. Christy, back to you.
Okay, thanks, Gloria. You can watch the full video of that police video online at kcbd.com or on our KCBD mobile app. To download the app, just search KCBD in your app store. A Lubbock woman has pleaded guilty to murdering her ex-husband. Jury selection for Patricia Dennis's capital murder trial was set to begin this morning. That's after she turned down a plea agreement on Friday. But instead, today she pleaded guilty to the murder and received 45 years in prison. Dennis shot and killed her husband, ex-husband, last year. Authorities say she then shot herself. Dennis had been out on a $250,000 bond prior to Friday's court appearance, but when she rejected the plea, a judge ordered her back to jail on a $1 million bond. The 8 victims of a brutal homicide in Houston were laid to rest today. 8 hearses carried the deceased to the church as family and a town gathered to say their respects. The hearses arrived at the church and were brought into the church one by one. The suspect in the crime used to live in the home where the crime was committed and is the father of one of the victims. He has been charged with 3 counts of capital murder and is being held without bail. At 5 today, a community south of Midland is mourning the loss of a 4-year-old boy who was killed when police say a driver crashed into a home. DPS troopers say a driver of a truck was intoxicated and speeding when he crashed into a home in Sheffield this weekend. 4-year-old Jonas Still was sleeping in the home when the crash happened. 24-year-old Aaron Craig Hinman is facing 2 charges. His bond has been set for $25,000 for each of those charges. The family has started a GoFundMe account for funeral costs. If you'd like to donate, you can visit our website at kcbd.com. Bluebell is expected to be back on some store shelves in Austin and Alabama on August 31st. Bluebell says its plant in Brenham and Broken Arrow, Oklahoma are still undergoing facility and production upgrades. The company has notified health officials of its return to the stores. Bluebell posted a video online today detailing its return.
This is an exciting time for us as we are back doing what we love. That's making ice cream. Our return will include parts of 15 states, but will take some time as we work to restart operations at our production facilities.
Bluebell plans to roll out its products in 5 phases. There's no word yet on when the ice cream will be back here in the Hub City. You'll remember the company recalled all of its products following a deadly listeria outbreak earlier this year. Today in Thailand, an explosion killed at least 27 people, including 4 foreigners in downtown Bangkok. One witness said it sounded like a lightning bolt. The blast happened at a main intersection that had been the scene of many political demonstrations in the past. The explosion appeared to be in front of a popular shrine. People displaced by last week's warehouse explosion in Tianjin, China are demanding answers and compensation. Crews are still testing for toxic chemicals at the site of the blast.
The chemical stuff is all over. I saw it was like a firework, you know, exploding, flying to everywhere. Some parts might fall to our yard, to our home.
More than 100 people were killed and dozens more are still missing. Workers are trying to neutralize any remaining chemicals before rain falls, which could create toxic gas. An earthquake followed by 7 aftershocks rattled the San Francisco area this morning. The U.S. Geological Survey said the 4.0 magnitude quake struck near Berkeley. The quake even rattled downtown San Francisco. Luckily, there were no injuries reported.
And we'll look at that raincast coming up in a few minutes that will show you that prospect for precipitation for West Texas, plus a big temperature change on the way. And we'll talk about that in just a few minutes. Christy?
Okay, thanks, Carrie. After years of drought, the Texas wine industry is finally bouncing back. Some vineyards near Austin are booming so much that they can't keep up with demand. Amanda Banda shows us for wineries, that's a good problem to have. According to a recent USDA agriculture survey, Texas has the 5th largest average of wine grapes of any state in the union. Now to the latest on a possible property tax increase for residents here in Lubbock County. A public hearing is now set to discuss that increase. You'll remember last week county commissioners approved a proposal to increase the rate by nearly 2 cents. If passed, this would be the first tax increase in 2 years, and it would generate a little more than $3 million. That money would be used to fund the Lubbock County Sheriff's office efforts to fight the war on narcotics, plus go towards salaries for the DA's office, LSO, and the Law Enforcement Center. The hearing will be this Thursday at 10:15 in the morning at the Lubbock County Commissioner's Court. Next week, thousands of students prepare to head back to the classroom, so be sure to stay tuned to KCBD throughout the week as we help you gear up for that first day of school. Our back-to-school coverage will feature stories on area school districts, highlight upcoming school programs, and bring you the latest information on needs like school supplies and vaccinations. We also want to see how all of you are preparing to kick off the new school year. Each day will feature a different social media theme. Teachers, today we want to see the progress you've made on your classrooms. Be sure to share your photos or videos on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter using our hashtag KidsComeBackDays. We have a traffic watch for later this week. Starting Thursday, TxDOT will work to rehabilitate the railroad crossing at FM 54 in Littlefield. The $48,000 project is part of a state program to remove old crossings and install new ones. Traffic will be detoured around the area, so if you're heading that way, you may want to give yourself some extra time. Work on the project is expected to continue for 1 week. Coming up next on KCBD News Channel 11 at 5, presidential candidates flock to Iowa as they explain their stance on immigration. Plus, a passenger rights group says Delta is shaming passengers to spend more on expensive upgrades. Coming up, hear Delta's response.
We are not out of the woods yet.
And wildfires fueled by heat, wind, and dry land continue to scorch the West Coast. 8 states are now struggling with those devastating fires.
We have a few showers and storms on the Doppler radar. Will they impact Lubbock? We'll have complete details in your forecast coming up in just a few minutes.
In the Republican race for the White House, immigration continues to be a hot topic. Some candidates were in Iowa today, while another went to court in Manhattan. Donald Trump was summoned for jury duty. Steve Handelsman has more from Washington. Steve.
Hi, Christy. Thanks. Such a big name being called from Washington. Steve Handelsman, KCBD News Channel 11. Christy, back to you.
Thanks, Steve. This evening, presidential candidate Jeb Bush is in Columbia, South Carolina to talk about veterans issues. The Republican will be a keynote speaker at a Veterans and Military Town Hall. It's a chance for leaders to discuss issues facing veterans and how changes can be made to provide better care for servicemen and women. A passengers' rights group is accusing Delta Airlines of shaming customers who buy basic economy fare tickets. Just before you confirm your purchase of an economy ticket, the website displays several restrictions that you'll face, including being the last to board the plane and the last to use overhead bin space. Delta has responded to the claim, saying the purpose of the page has nothing to do with shaming. It's to, quote, make people aware of what they're buying. First-time home buyers are waiting longer than ever to take the leap into home ownership. That's according to a new study by a real estate website, Zillow. New data shows that young Americans are typically renting for 6 years before buying their first home. In the early 1970s, young people waited just 2.6 years before buying a home. Analysts say the delay reflects the challenges that millennials face in the aftermath of the financial crisis. Wildfires are burning out of control in 8 western states, and soaring temperatures are not helping. The growing wildfire crisis is fueled by erratic winds and dry conditions. More than 100 large wildfires are burning right now. Resources are stretched thin as thousands of firefighters work overtime.
Every resource that you can think of is on short demand in this country right now.
This whole ridge was on fire. That whole hillside there, this whole hillside was on fire last night. I was literally outrunning flames at 60 miles an hour.
Hundreds of homes and structures from California to Washington are now just ash. More than 1,000 residents have been warned to flee that area. Here at home, after a few early morning showers, could we see some more storms pop up this evening, Carrie?
Does look like it, especially southeast of us initially, but maybe a better chance overnight for us here in Lubbock. So we'll go ahead and take a look at the Doppler radar. As far as triple digits go, maybe we're done with that. We'll see. It's too early to really say that, but it does appear we're going to stay cooler than the century mark for quite a while.
Maybe it's just prepping us for football season.
There you go, right around the corner.
Thanks, Carrie. Stay with us. Healthwise at 5 is next, but first, here's a look at what's coming up tonight on NBC Nightly News.
Coming up on Nightly News, our team is covering the western wildfires and shows us up close why the military has now been summoned in to help. Over the weekend, Donald Trump revealed to us his immigration plan. Tonight, we add up the numbers to see what it would really cost. And Amazon CEO fires back at an unflattering depiction of what it's like to work for the company, as we hear from former employees tonight.